we're recording, so I'm going to bump out to Facebook this morning, this food as medicine, because I think it's an important one. Okay, how do I do this? Yes. So you can fast forward a little bit if you want to find it. If you want to listen to the chat, how to know if you have. Oops. Share on good food and you. Yes, going live. Awesome. Perhaps we are there on Facebook. So for anybody who's catching this live, by the way, hello, good morning. You're going to be on Facebook. But I have actually muted everyone and turned off your cameras so that, yeah, they actually shouldn't see you. They should only see me. Okay. Welcome. Good morning to this food as medicine. I said I'd bump it out to Facebook. I don't usually do this for the food as medicines, but this is a special one because I think I've talked about it a little bit and I thought, I don't know if people really realize how much blood sugar balancing is one of the drivers of your symptoms. So before we get started, I want you to think about this. Give a second to think about 3 things that are troubling you. You know, for example, like, oh, my periods are really terrible, or I don't know, like I have chronic pain, I have hives, I don't know, gosh, it's too early to think of these things, but think of what the 3 top things that you have on the go. Oh, I have fatty liver disease, or it can be major things too. Like I have, well, fatty liver disease is major, Luca, but it can be other major things like, oh, I have an autoimmune condition, or I have different things. So jot down 3 things that are, I'm going to think of it. I want you to think of it as ways that your body is trying to talk to you, letting you know something's up. So what are those top 3 things? And then I'm going to go through a whole list and I want you to pay attention and see how many of these you say yes to. So this is the first step. Jot down the 3 things that are your most troublesome symptoms or diseases or diagnoses that you have that you're working through. And then let's get to it. Good morning. I'm your host, Luca Simmons, here with you for this Food as Medicine segment. We're going to be talking about how to know if you have blood sugar balancing issues. So jotting down your top 3 symptoms is how we're going to start. Take note of, I like to think of symptoms as the way that your body talks to you, lets you know something's going on. And it can be symptoms, it can be diagnoses, it can be stuff that last time you went for a checkup, oh, your cholesterol levels are high, or things like this, you know? So jot those down, make note of those, and let's go through a big list, because I think you'll be quite surprised to learn just how much blood sugar balancing issues are contributing to your symptoms. It's one of the secrets to how nutrition works so well. It's why I love what I do. By digging deep into how you feed yourselves, how you eat, and the order in which you eat, meal times, it can be that simple, and the types of foods that you have available on the table every day. These have the potential to contribute to your symptoms, to also, if you do minor shifts over the long term, can see a really big impact. So let's get into it. I'm your holistic nutrition practitioner, glad to be coming to you from the foothills nestled to the right of the Rocky Mountains. Here I am in Treaty 7 territory, and let's get into it. How do you know you have blood sugar balance issues? How many of these do you say yes to? Every time I say something and you're like, oh, I have that. I want you to put a check mark on your piece of paper. Hangry, cravings for sweet things, cravings for salty things, cravings for chocolate, cravings for bread, cravings for pasta, cravings for something crunchy and salty, chips. Do you have fatigue? And this can be mental fatigue. It could be fatigue over the course of the day where your body is requesting to have naps. So it can be energy fatigue, it can be mental fatigue, and it can be the stamina of making it through the day as a human right now. Do you have brain fog? Do you have low dips of energy, either late afternoon or maybe after supper, even like half an hour to 40 minutes after you have meals? Do you have low motivation? Do you shake sometimes where someone would say, oh, you must be hypoglycemic? Does eating help the shaking and reduce the shaking? That was me. Do you have a muffin top? Oh, sorry. Don't get mad. Do you rely on lots of coffee? Do you have a candy stash at work, or do you have a snack stash at work? Do you have a snack stash in your purse? That was me. Are you a carb lover? Do you dream of pasta all day long? Oh my God, this is all about me. Do you find you're addicted, as they say? Are you addicted? I think it's actually, pardon me, a survival mechanism, but are you addicted? I use air quotation marks, to pasta or crackers or chips or chocolate bars? Or can you find that you can't stop at eating 2 sleeves of Oreo cookies at 4 p.m. and you've been so good all day, and how dare you have a lack of will? Wrong. That is not a lack of will. Do you crave chocolate? Do you, pardon me, do you feel wired and tired after dinner? Do you jump or scare easily? Do you find you are drawn to drama? When there's something happening and there's something where you get your emotions worked up, is this the kind of, I want you to meet this with kindness, by the way. Is this the kind of thing where you just go, I'm going to hook my talons into that, and then you get right into the middle of it? Juicy gossip, negative talk about someone, or the judginess that can come sometimes with, oh, well, at least, oh, I see them doing that, and I don't think I do that. Is that something you find yourself drawn to? Are you the person where when you eat meat, it helps bring you back to earth? This was the thing for me. I'll talk about my story in just a second. Do you have skin wounds that heal very slowly? Okay, these are all kind of symptoms and ways that I think the body can talk. Now, what about diagnoses? Let's go through a couple of diagnoses where absolutely we need to check in to see what your blood sugar balancing is behind all of this. Do you have a diagnosis of type 2 diabetes or metabolic syndrome? Do you have plaque building up in your arteries? Have you been told you have thinning arteries, or they're thickening? Actually, it's not that they're thinning, it's that they're thickening and now the blood is having a hard time getting through. Or did someone say the word atherosclerosis to you? Or do you have a history of heart attacks? It's not necessarily the blood sugar balance is the only reason behind. It's one of the potential contributors. I want to make it clear here. Do you have thyroid stuff? Hashimoto's, Graves', underactive thyroid, hypothyroid? Do you take medication for your thyroid? Do you take levothyroxine or Synthroid or something else? Do you have cataracts? Do you have high cholesterol? What about fatty liver disease? Have you been diagnosed with PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome? Do you have high blood pressure? Do you have trouble sleeping? Especially, do you wake up in the middle of the night making all of the lists in your head, remembering all of the things you said to all of the people that were all of the wrong things that you are going to worry about? Do you have a lot of worries? Do you have dementia or Alzheimer's, or is it something that runs in your family? That's two different things here, but they are both rooted in blood sugar balancing issues. Some can be hereditary and some can be kind of family culture. Some of it can also be tendencies and the biochemical inner workings of what's happening in your genetics. Do you have candida? Yeah, that's probably one of the biggest ones. Do you have mood or anxiety, or do you struggle with a lot of worries? Are you the constant worrier? Oh God. Or 3 a.m. Oh, geez. Remember when I said that 6 months ago? I wonder if they're still thinking about what I said. You know, they call it memory foam for a reason. Or here's some really big systemic things. Do you have fertility issues? Have you ever struggled with fertility? It's not necessarily that it is due to blood sugar balancing, but it can potentially be one of the contributors. Do you have histamine stuff? I'm finding this and figuring it out more and more with clients right now. And are you having troubles through perimenopause or menopause? Yeah, baby. Oh, how many check marks do you have on your piece of paper in front of you? From all of the lists that I've gone through, how many do you have? I would love to know. Just pop it in the comments below, or you can send me a private message if you want. I'd be curious to know, how many check marks do you have? I did a similar chat last week, and somebody who was there, she wrote back, she said, I said yes 20 times. Yeah. Awesome. Do you have blood sugar balancing issues? If you said yes, well, I dare say if you said yes to at least two, blood sugar balancing work could be part of how you can utilize nutrition and turn to nutrition for that supportive piece. Okay. Why is it important to work on blood sugar balancing? Let's get into it. What's your body trying to tell you when you have blood sugar balancing issues? Balancing your blood sugars, I want you to think of it as one of those pillars of reducing inflammation. Oh, Luca, what does that even mean? Okay. Inflammation drives your symptoms. Inflammation drives chronic disease. Inflammation drives things like PCOS, like histamine issues, like thyroid issues, like fatty liver disease. Inflammation is the common denominator behind all of these big things, including mood, including cardiovascular disease, including high cholesterol, like add all of the things I just listed. Well, what drives inflammation though? Two really big needle movers in here. Your gut health drives inflammation. So do blood sugar imbalances. Which one came first, chicken or egg? Is it inflammation showed up and then gut stuff happened and then blood sugar balancing issues happened? Well, first thing that happened was actually gut disruption. Some kind of piece at the gut level wasn't working. That's actually the ground zero. That's why I have a free class called Gut as Ground Zero. So that started to have wonky stuff on the go, which then tripped blood sugar balance issues, which then eventually developed into inflammatory things. That's kind of the order. Which is the chicken, which is the egg, the gut is the egg, the blood sugar is the next piece, and then inflammation is the end result of all of these things not working correctly. Okay, well, that's fun. Now what? So why this has a potential of impacting things like fertility or thyroid or adrenal dysfunction or adrenal fatigue, sometimes it will be called. The official term is hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis dysregulation. Yeah, there's a spelling test at the end of today. No, there isn't. Why this is important: blood sugar balances that are having a hard time drive hormonal imbalances. So it's kind of like gut stuff happened first, then the blood sugars got dysregulated, which then drove hormonal stuff, which can exacerbate histamine stuff, which can exacerbate things like PCOS, which a bunch of other things. And that eventually led to inflammation, which when that's been around for a long time, the body says symptoms, and out they get, okay? So addressing blood sugar balancing issues is one of those pillars to address, and why I love nutrition so much. And I think that is potentially the biggest needle mover, is that gut repair piece and blood sugar balancing. So it's like an onion. You're peeling away the layers. What's at the core? The first thing is the gut. The next layer is your blood sugar balancing. So why is it important to address blood sugar balancing issues even more? Let's get even more specific. When you address blood sugar balancing, you are supporting all of the other functions in the body, and you're reducing what's driving your symptoms. The other piece to this is that, for example, today is Thursday as I chat this morning. For me to balance my blood sugars all day long on Thursday, I have to have really good deep sleep on Wednesday. So last night I did the work of balancing blood sugars for today. A whole bunch of different things happened, doesn't matter. But in order to have blood sugars balanced on Thursday, one of the key players is that I better have slept well the night before. Well, hang on, Luca. You just said that sometimes people who wake up in the middle of the night have blood sugar balancing issues. That means they're not sleeping well. So now on Wednesday night, the person with blood sugar balancing issues woke up at 1:30 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And they had all of the list of worries on their mind, and now they didn't sleep well. How's their blood sugar going to be balanced on Thursday? Well, it's going to be tricky, isn't it? So what do you work at first? You actually work at blood sugar balancing, and sleep eventually resolves itself, or it should. And if it doesn't, when you address that blood sugar balancing issue, you've done one of the pillars, it means there's other contributors. which why wouldn't there be? You're a closed loop system and you're a marvelous machine that is constantly adjusting in order to address and support whatever the problem is. And not that there's a problem, you are a well orchestrated machine. We just need to read the signs of what's going on so that we can give your body what she needs to get through the day. So the chicken and egg scenario, which came first, sleep issues or blood sugar balancing? Blood sugar balancing issues came first, actually, and then sleep got disrupted. It takes a long time for blood sugar balances issues to affect sleep. So addressing that blood sugar balancing issue has the potential of supporting your sleep. The better you can sleep, now the better you can balance blood sugars the next day, the more you are reducing what's driving your symptoms. Okay. That's nice. Let's talk about 3 things that help, because now I'm really sad, Luca. Okay, don't be sad, first of all. We have some good solutions on hand. First things first. I've got 3 things. The first thing is, if you are in the Good Food Network, you have access to a blood sugar balancing class this month. Prioritize that guy. You are the first to access this class, actually. So I've just built it. I built it last week in a panic. It took me a week, but it's done. So access the Vitality Blood Sugar Balancing class. That's going to give you some of your beginning tools to address. Awesome. Now, if you're not in the Good Food Network, there's still time. You can join us and you can access that class. I am hoping to make it available in the new year. So if at the time that you're catching this video, check down below. I will drop a link to this Vitality series where I do different topics, and the blood sugar balancing. If it's in the list there where you click on the link, then you'll be able to catch it and take that class. That will give you 5 really good steps and explain in deeper exploration what's going on in the body and what you can do about it. Number 2, this is a really important one. A lot of people think, well, I have blood sugar balancing issues if I eat candy or I have diabetes. I don't have blood sugar balancing issues otherwise. Lies. A lot of people will say, well, no, I have blood sugar balancing issues, so I should cut out carbs. Lies. Lies, lies, lies. If you do not eat when you are hungry, your body is letting you know you're hungry for a reason. Do you know why you're hungry? Your hormones are off, your blood sugars are off, you've run out of fuel in the body. Do you know what the body does when you run out of fuel? It turns on the stress response, which drives inflammation, which now makes your symptoms worse. Yeah, skipping meals has the potential, and having willpower and just going, I'm going to power through my hunger right now. I'm going to have that willpower. You are driving the symptoms and you are locking yourself in that loop. How do you get out of the loop? You eat. When you eat, you turn off the stress response in the body. It's that simple. When you eat, you're providing your body with fuel. When your body has fuel, she'll turn off the stress response so that your cravings are gone and you can now make it through the day. Do you know what is the biggest driver of hunger cues? The brain. Why? Because the brain's preferred source of fuel is glucose. What is glucose? Blood sugar. When you run out of blood sugars, now your body requests it. How does she request it? She makes you hungry. Why does she do that? Because she wants to survive, because she wants you to live. Do you know how brilliant of a mechanism that is? Do you know how much you are not broken? Do you want to marvel with me how this is a survival piece and how this survival mechanism has been co-opted into a multi-million-dollar dieting industry? Screw that. If you're hungry, eat. Yeah, if you're snacking all day long, then to me, it's telling me that you have troubles balancing blood sugars. The goal is to eventually, over the span of a year, maybe get you to the point where you're eating 3 square meals, and that's enough. You are not hungry, you do not have cravings, and you're not reaching for the 2 sleeves of cookies in the pantry because you can't help yourself, or you can't not eat that entire bag of chips at 6:30 while you're waiting for supper to finally be made because it's been a really long and hard day. I have lived all of these scenarios, and I still on occasion have these scenarios. It's a daily battle, and when I'm hungry, I'm going to eat because that is actually more important. So that is thing number 2. When you're hungry, eat. Do not think you have a lack of willpower. Marvel with me at the survival mechanism of making you do the thing that's going to make you live. Your body is smart. Okay, number 3. The third piece, I talk about this ad nauseum. I feel maybe this is the first time you've heard it. If it is, oh, friend, can I invite you to bring in protein at breakfast. Yeah, protein at breakfast is probably one of the biggest needle movers in terms of balancing your blood sugars and is the first step. It's the first step I talk about when I'm working with clients because this is one of the biggest potential needle movers in addressing blood sugar balancing issues. The lack of protein and inadequate amounts of protein is one of the drivers of blood sugar balancing issues. Yes, because we've told people to eat cornflakes or Special K with skim milk because God forbid we get fat. Oh, who was having blood sugar balancing issues in the 90s when you were doing that? I was. And I went to a clinic to get it figured out. And she said, you're probably hypoglycemic, but don't worry, it's okay. That was the message I got. Oh, for fart's sake. Protein first thing in the morning. Apparently I'm on fire this morning. Protein at breakfast is your tip number 3. How do you do this? Well, I will tell you, you have a lot of different options. What's a protein? Anything from an animal has some protein in it. Animal meats will have higher amounts of protein. So things like fish or, of course, sausages, bacon, eggs, cheese, they all have protein in them. Cottage cheese is actually fairly awesome protein. What are other proteins? Those are the animal ones. Oh, a can of fish. Oh, liver pate. What? Scallops. What? Why not have scallops for breakfast? That's what I do when I get together with my sister. We cook scallops for breakfast. Animal protein will have a really good amount of protein. Plant-based proteins will provide some protein, will not do as complete a job as animal protein will. So here we're talking about lentils, nuts, beans, seeds, grains. Whole grains will have some protein. In addition to that, things like collagen can have some protein as well. But I think of the collagen and the plant-based proteins like nut butters, those kinds of things, I think of them as bridging protein. They don't have a complete array of all of the ingredients of protein that animal protein does. And in fact, there are some studies to show that when you consume animal protein at breakfast, you are doing the work of balancing blood sugars for 12 hours. There's an indication that protein, animal protein at breakfast helps balance your blood sugars for 12 hours. That's amazing. To me, that's the equivalent of if you have the day you have a bowl of plain cereal with skim milk, you are getting yourself on the steepest roller coaster there is. When you have animal protein for breakfast, you're getting on a carousel. Do you see the difference? The blood sugars with a bowl of cereal and skim milk is going to do this all day long. The blood sugar kind of day you're going to have when you have animal protein at breakfast is going to be the minute and slow up and down of a carousel. Not the carousel I went to in Missoula, Montana, which whipped around and was crazy making. Pardon me, that's a wrong word to use, which was, it was stress inducing. It went so quickly. All right, so protein first thing in the morning, add protein to your breakfast. If you're having oatmeal, can you add scoops of collagen powder? Could you have an egg on top? If you are solely relying on cereal, can you start to bring in a couple of days of bringing in a couple of sausages with last night's leftover veggies? Could that be a breakfast? And if you try that, I want you to measure, you know, all those things you said yes to on the days where you have animal protein. How are those things you said yes to? I have a breakfast program that takes you through how to build that breakfast. If you wanted to, hit me up in the messages or I'll send you a link. It's that easy. And that is for 2 or 4 weeks. You get to choose the pace you want to take. A way to examine and to really dive deep into seeing how you can do some of that blood sugar balancing work with the simple act of building a good breakfast. That's a corner pillar of working with me. We really build in the breakfast piece with all clients. So hit me up if ever you need this support. So I want to do one last little bit here, myth busting or extra. Blood sugars out of balance, fatty liver disease, and cataracts. They are, a lot of people are going to, like when you look in the media, they're going to blame it on the fact that you ate sugar and that you were a bad person. You're not a bad person. Your virtue is not wrapped into how your body is expressing symptoms. Your brilliance and magnificence of how the body works to survive and tell you what's going on is actually what's happening here. So it's not based in what you eat. It's not based. I remember when a family member was diagnosed with fatty liver disease, and there, the instruction was stop going out to fast food restaurants. I haven't gone out to fast food restaurants except for once in a blue moon in the last 10 years. So that's not what's happening here. And it was totally blamed, and tisk, 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 shame on you. It's your fault you have this. Oh, no, it is not, friend. No, it is not. It is your body marvelously working at that balancing piece so you can wake up every day and meet the day with what you've got. It's your body asking for help as well. So if you need help with any of this, please reach out. I am here all the time. I see clients one-on-one. I have the Good Food Network where you may find some solutions and ways to move forward if working one-on-one feels out of reach right now, or because of time or commitments or financial investments. So whatever you need, I have different layers that can help you, but they're there for you when you're ready. Send me a message. Let's get you on the road to feeling good. It is a 15-minute free chat where you start, and then we'll get your roadmap set up for you. You don't have to figure this out on your own. No, you do not. Thank you for joining me this morning on this Food as Medicine session. I hope that you got a few pieces on how your body works. For those who are here live, I'm going to turn off the recording. If you have any questions, hang around and let's get them answered. Take care, everybody. Salut et à bientôt.